Hello everyone, welcome back to the 7th video of the Python Tutorials for Beginners series. In this video, we'll be covering Python functions. So a function is a collection of statements grouped together that performs an operations. In math, you have probably gone through functions that can be plotted on a graph. So in this, let's say we have a function fx is equal to f squared. So over here, what we would do is that we'll input a value, for example 2, as x. So when we're evaluating f2, we then evaluate 2 to the power 2, and 2 squared is 4, so f2 becomes 4, and then you would plot the f2 is equal to 4 point on your graph. So Python functions are quite similar because they take in an input and they return an output. So the way you define a Python function is that you first use the def keyword in Python, which stands for define. Next you type in a space, and then after that you have to type in a function name. So when you're naming a function, it follows the same rules as naming a variable name, so keep that in mind. Next you need to type in parentheses, alright, and within the parentheses you can type in a variable name, and this variable name is going to be called a parameter. We'll go through parameters very soon. After that you need to type in a colon, and then in the next line you have to type in a line. So over here I've typed in return x squared. So what happens is that x squared is evaluated, and then I return the value back. So this is the way you declare a function in Python. In my ninth line, I have a variable y, and what I do is that I evaluate f2. X is 2, and next we'll then evaluate x squared. So since x is 2, we'll evaluate 2 squared, and 2 squared is 4, and we'll return the value 4. So f2 is equal to 4, so y is equal to 4, and then we'll print out y, which is 4. So our output should be 4, and when we print out y, we get 4. Alright, so this is how you define a very simple function in Python. Let's define a little more advanced function. So again, I type in def followed by add1. So I name my function add1 parentheses x. Alright, so let me call my parameter x, then colon, and then I return x plus 1. So all this function is doing is that it's taking a parameter x and it's adding 1 to it, and then it's returning the value back. Then I'll print out add 1 5. Alright, so what happens is that 5 is put into x, so x is equal to 5, and then evaluate 5 plus 1, which is 6. And when we print out the function declaration, and when we print add1 5, we get 6. Alright, so that's how functions work. Now let's define another function, def max value separated by an underscore, and this time we'll, instead of having one parameter, we'll have two parameters. So let's name the first parameter num1 and the second parameter num2. So it stands for number 1 and number 2. So in a function you can have a collection of statements, so you, instead of having one statement, you can have multiple statements. So let's say I make my result none. So what this function is doing is that it's going to print out the maximum value. So it's just checking which one is the highest value, and we can do this by using a if else statement. If num1 is greater than num2, result is equal to num1, else result is equal to num2, and then finally I return the result. So basically over here I'm naming the variable result and I'm assigning the value none. So none doesn't mean anything, it's just a placeholder value. Next I evaluate this expression num1 greater than num2, then I assign num1 to result if num1 is greater, otherwise I assign num2 because num2 is the greater value, and then finally I return the result. Finally let's call the function, so max value 4 comma 6. Alright, so these are my parameters. So in this case, num1 is equal to 4 and num2 is equal to 6. So 4 and 6. Next, I check if 4 is greater than 6. So in this case, 4 is not greater than 6. 4 is less than 6. So this is false. So we execute the else statement. So result is assigned to num2. So result is equal to 6. And then we return result, which is 6. So our final answer will be 6. And if we run the code, you can see that we get 6. Let's define one more function. This will be an unusual function. So let's say I call my function print hello, and you can also have a function without any parameters. Just ensure that you have the parentheses. Parentheses can be empty, but you need to have the parentheses so that you don't get an error in Python. And then what I'll do is that I'll print hello. So over here in this function, I don't actually return anything. Instead, I just print the hello string. Finally, let's execute this statement, this function. So print hello, and we'll run the code. You see that I print out hello in the terminal. So what happens is that this function is called and I execute this statement, which is print hello, and then I get hello in the terminal. So let's say I print this out. All right. Instead, what we'll do is we'll make a variable y equal to that and print y, and then we'll run the code. So you can see that when you call the function, it prints out hello, right? And when you print out y, you get none because we didn't return any value. So when you don't have a return statement, the function will automatically return the value none, which you can see over here. So none is printed over here. So that's it for functions. Now let's try a simple example. So write a function named add from 1 to x that takes in one parameter and adds the consecutive values from 1 to that parameter, which includes the parameter itself. So for example, if my parameter is 10, then I need to return 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 all the way to 9 plus 10. All right, and I have to return that value, and yeah, that's, and ensure that you can change the parameter to whatever you like. So I can also put in a parameter like 15 or 20 and I should still get the correct answer. So please pause the video and try out this problem, and when you're ready, we'll continue with the solution. So now let's see what the solution is. So first I need to type in def, which is the keyword you need to use, followed by the function name add from 1 to x, followed by parentheses, and then in the parentheses I need to put in the parameter. So let's call this parameter value, right? So that's my parameter name. Next I need to add 1 2 3 4, so we can use a for loop for that. So let's declare a variable result is equal to 0, and then we'll add each value to result. Then let's make a for loop for count in range, and then we have to start from 1, and then we have to go all the way to value and including value itself. So over here I have 10, and it also needs to add 10, right? So what you need to do is that you need to type in value plus 1, because if you type in only value and if value is 10, it will go all the way but not all the way up to but not including 10 itself, so it will only stop at 9, which is not what we want. We need to reach all the way until 10. So plus 1, then we'll do result plus equals count. So what we do here is that whatever value count is, we add it straight to the result. So we start with count is equal to 1, then we add 1 to the result, so 0 plus 1 is 1, then result becomes 2, then we add count to result, so 1 plus 2 is 3, and then count is equal to 3, then we add count to result again, so we do 3 plus 3, which is 6, and then so on, right? Finally, we'll have to have our return statement, return result, and yeah, that's it for our function declaration. Now let's call our function. All right, so add from 1 to x, and let's put in 10. So we get 55, which is the correct answer. So now we can also change this parameter to whatever you like. So let's put in 100. So we'll get a much larger value this time, which is 550. You can also put in 1 million, run the code, and you can see that our value is very large. So you can put in whatever you like, run the code, and you'll get the correct value from the loop. So that's it for functions. I hope you like the video. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video.